When I talk about goals, I often see people get very excited about writing them down, making lists, and setting deadlines. And that's good, but it's not enough. See, a goal by itself is just words on paper. It's a number, a target, or an idea that looks nice written in a journal or stuck on your wall. But here's what happens. Without something deeper behind it, those words won't move you when life gets tough. When the days get long, when distractions creep in, when you start to feel tired, just looking at a goal doesn't always light the fire. What really makes the difference is when you build a vision. A vision is bigger than a goal. A vision is a picture of your life the way you truly want it to be. It's not just, I want to earn this much, or I want to lose this much weight. A vision asks, what kind of person do I want to become? What kind of life do I want to live? And what kind of legacy do I want to leave? If you don't have a vision, your goals will feel like chores. You'll find yourself dragging your feet, checking boxes, but not feeling the energy to keep going. But when you have a vision, it pulls you forward. It's almost like gravity working in your favor. You don't just push yourself every day. You're drawn to it. You wake up in the morning not because you have to, but because you want to. That's the difference between a list of goals and a life built on vision. Now, here's the mistake a lot of people make. They confuse a vision with just wishing or dreaming. A wish is vague. A dream without detail remains nothing but air. But a true vision is detailed. You can see it. You can feel it. It's so clear in your mind that it's almost real even before you get there. And the clearer you make that vision, the easier it becomes to set the right goals. Because goals should never be random. They should fit inside the larger picture of the life you're building. Think of it like building a house. Your goals are the bricks, but your vision is the blueprint. If you lay down bricks without a plan, you'll just end up with a pile of bricks. But if you've got a blueprint, then every brick you lay takes you closer to the house you want to live in. That's why I say don't just set goals, build a vision. The vision gives meaning to the goals. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone says, I want to get in shape. That's a goal. But if the vision is, I want to live with energy so I can play with my kids, walk without getting tired, enjoy traveling, and live a long, healthy life. Now that goal has life in it. It's no longer just a number on a scale. It's a picture of a better future. That vision is what will keep you going when you don't feel like working out, or when it gets hard to stay disciplined. Or someone says, I want to make $1 million. That's a goal. But why? What's the vision? If the vision is to create freedom, to give your family security, to travel, to give back to your community, to have choices, that's a vision. Now, the goal of making money is not just about the money. It's about the kind of life that money will make possible. And here's the truth: when your goals are tied to a vision, the sacrifices feel lighter, the obstacles feel smaller, and the effort feels worth it. The key is to take time to imagine, to reflect, to think deeply about the kind of life you want. Don't rush this process. Sit quietly, write it down, describe it in detail. What do you see yourself doing 5 years from now? Who are you with? How do you feel? What do you own? Where do you live? What kind of impact are you making? Build that picture so strong in your mind that it becomes real before it happens. Then, and only then, start setting goals that align with it. Because if your goals don't match your vision, you'll end up working hard in the wrong direction. You'll climb the ladder of success only to find it's leaning against the wrong wall. But if you start with vision, then every goal you set becomes a stepping stone toward the life you truly want. That's why it's not enough to just set goals. It's about creating a vision so powerful, so clear, that it pulls you toward it every single day. And once that vision is alive inside of you, the goals take care of themselves. When people first learn about success, they get excited about goals. They write them down, they dream about them, they talk about them. And that's a good start. But here's the trap. Many stop there. They set the goal, but they don't take the next critical step, which is building a plan. A goal without a plan is like setting out on a journey without a map. You know where you'd like to end up, but you have no clear idea how to get there. You might wander, you might get lost, or you might end up nowhere close to where you want it to be. That's the problem with goals that just sit on paper. They don't give you the structure you need to turn them into reality. A plan, on the other hand, breaks the goal down into something you can actually do. It takes the big picture and turns it into smaller steps that can be tackled one at a time. If the goal is the destination, The plan is the road map. And without the map, you'll waste time, you'll waste energy, and you'll probably get frustrated enough to quit. That's why it's not enough to say, I want this. You have to follow it with, here's how I'm going to get it. Let's take an example. Someone says, I want to read 50 books this year. That sounds great, but if they don't have a plan, by December they'll probably have finished 3. But if the plan is, I'll read 1 chapter every morning before work and 1 chapter before bed, suddenly the goal is not overwhelming anymore. It's broken into something manageable. That's the power of a plan. It makes the impossible look possible, and the possible look inevitable. The truth is, without a plan, even the best goals get buried under daily life. You'll say, I'll get to it when I have time. But time slips away. You'll say, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never shows up. A plan puts accountability into your hands. It tells you exactly what needs to be done today to make tomorrow better. It doesn't let you drift. It forces you to act. And here's something to remember. A plan doesn't have to be complicated. Some people think they need to design an elaborate system, or wait until they figure out every detail before starting. No, all you need is the first step. Once you take it, the next step becomes clearer, and the next after that. But without the first step written down, you'll hesitate. You'll wait. And waiting costs you opportunity. So keep the plan simple, but keep it real. If your goal is to get fit, don't just write, get fit. Write, I'll work out 3 times a week. I'll prepare my meals on Sunday. I'll drink water instead of soda. That's a plan. If your goal is to save money, don't just write, save $10,000. Write, I'll set aside $200 every paycheck. I'll cut unnecessary subscriptions. I'll cook at home 4 nights a week. That's a plan. If your goal is to start a business, don't just write, start a business. Write, I'll research my market this week. I'll register my name next week. I'll launch my product in 3 months. That's a plan. And here's why a plan is so important. It gives you confidence. When you look at a big goal, it can feel overwhelming. But when you have a plan, you don't focus on the size of the mountain. You focus on the next step up the trail. You don't have to conquer everything at once. You just have to stick to the steps you've written. That's how people succeed. Not because their goals were bigger, but because their plans were clearer. But let me also say this, don't be afraid to adjust the plan. Life will test you. Obstacles will show up. The unexpected will happen. And when it does, don't throw away the whole goal. Just adjust the plan. Sometimes you have to take a detour. Sometimes you have to move slower. Sometimes you find a shortcut. That's part of the journey. The plan is not carved in stone, but it gives you a direction so you never stop moving forward. You see, goals inspire you, but plans discipline you. Goals give you the vision, but plans give you the path. And the combination of both is what makes achievement possible. One without the other is incomplete. A goal with no plan is a wish. A plan with no goal is busy work. But when you bring the two together, now you've got the fuel and the roadmap. Now you're dangerous. Now you're unstoppable. That's why it's not enough to just set goals. You've got to build a plan that turns those goals into daily action. When people talk about success, they often get caught up in the excitement of setting big goals and building grand plans. And that's good. It gives you direction. But here's what I've noticed: goals will inspire you for a while, but they won't carry you all the way. Inspiration gets you started, but it doesn't keep you going when the excitement wears off. What really makes the difference is not the size of your goals or the beauty of your plans. It's the habits you build. Habits are the daily disciplines that turn what you want into what you have. Think about it. You can set a goal to be wealthy, and you can even write out a detailed plan for how you'll save and invest. But if your habit is spending every extra dollar, the goal won't matter and the plan won't last. Or you can set a goal to get healthy, and you can have a workout routine on paper. But if your habit is hitting snooze every morning, that plan will never see daylight. It's habits that determine whether your goals survive the test of time. And here's the thing about habits: they don't feel powerful at first. They feel small. They feel ordinary. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't look like much. Putting away a few dollars doesn't feel life-changing. Choosing water over soda seems insignificant. But add them up over weeks, over months, over years, and those small habits compound into something extraordinary. That's why I say habits are the bridge between the goals you write and the life you live. Now, here's what's interesting. Bad habits work the same way. Eating junk food today doesn't ruin your health. Spending recklessly once doesn't bankrupt you. Skipping one workout won't change much. But string those habits together and suddenly years have gone by, and you're nowhere near the life you imagined. So the choice is simple. If you don't deliberately build the right habits, the wrong ones will build themselves. And whichever habits take root will decide the direction of your life. The real key is consistency. Anybody can do the right thing once in a while. But successful people do the right thing day after day, even when they don't feel like it. That's why habits are more valuable than motivation. Motivation fades, but habit stays. Once something becomes a habit, you don't argue with yourself anymore. You just do it. It becomes automatic. It becomes part of who you are. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't debate it every morning. You don't wait for inspiration. You don't say, well, I'll see if I feel like it today. No, you just do it because it's a habit. That's the level you want to reach with the disciplines that lead to success. When reading, exercising, saving, working on your craft, showing gratitude, when these become as natural as brushing your teeth, now you've put your future on autopilot. But remember, habits don't form overnight. They take time and they take repetition. The same way you can't get out of shape in one day, you can't get in shape in one day either. It's a process of small, consistent actions. And here's the beauty of it. Once you start, every day gets easier. The first few days are tough. The first few weeks are a test, but stick with it long enough and the habit starts working for you instead of against you. Some people say, I don't want to live a life of discipline. But here's the truth. You're going to live a life of discipline either way. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. You either suffer the small discipline of building good habits, or you suffer the heavy burden of wishing you had. And I'd rather pay the small price daily than carry the heavy price forever. So, if you want to reach your goals, stop relying on willpower and start relying on habits. Build routines that support the future you want. Decide what disciplines matter most and practice them until they become part of you. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you occasionally do that shapes your life. It's what you consistently do. That's why it's not enough to just set goals or even make plans. You've got to build the habits that will carry you all the way. When we talk about setting goals, most people think about what they're going to get. The money, the house, the recognition, the freedom. And that's fine. Those rewards can be exciting. But here's the real truth. The greatest value in setting a goal is not what you get, it's who you become. Because the prize is temporary, but the person you become in the process is permanent. You see, it's not the $1 million that makes the difference. It's the skills, the discipline, the character, and the mindset you had to build to earn it. If you lost the money tomorrow, but kept the person you became, you could earn it back again. That's why I say don't just set goals to have more, set goals to become more. Most people approach goals with the wrong perspective. They think, if I can just have that, I'll be successful. But success doesn't come from what you acquire. It comes from what you attract. And you don't attract success by wishing for it. You attract it by becoming the kind of person worthy of it. If you want better things, you must become better yourself. If you want greater opportunities, you must develop greater skills. If you want people to trust you, respect you, and invest in you, then you must become the kind of person who deserves trust, respect, and investment. Think about it this way. Let's say your goal is to double your income. That's a fine goal. But here's the question. What kind of person do you need to become to earn twice as much? Maybe you need to improve your communication. Maybe you need to learn how to manage time better. Maybe you need to add new skills, develop more confidence, or build stronger relationships. The income is just the byproduct. The real reward is that you became more valuable. And when you become more valuable, opportunities will find you. Or let's say your goal is to get in the best shape of your life. You might think the reward is the body, the energy, the health. And yes, those things are wonderful. But the real value is in the discipline you had to develop, the self-control you had to practice, the consistency you had to maintain. That new version of you is far more valuable than just looking good in the mirror. Because once you build that kind of discipline, you can apply it to every area of your life, your business, your relationships, your personal growth. That's the hidden treasure behind the goal. And here's something important. When you set goals this way, you stop being impatient. You stop demanding that everything happens overnight. Because you realize the process is where the value lies. The journey is what changes you. And if you rush through it, you cheat yourself out of the very thing that makes the goal worthwhile. That's why sometimes the goal seems far away. It's not because you can't have it. It's because you haven't yet become the person capable of handling it. The universe isn't denying you. It's preparing you. Now, some people say, if I had more money, I'd be generous. If I had more time, I'd learn. If I had more opportunities, I'd prove myself. But it doesn't work that way. You don't get more by waiting. You get more by becoming more. You start with what you have, and you grow. You practice generosity with a little, and then you'll be trusted with a lot. You discipline yourself with the hours you already have, and then you'll manage bigger responsibilities. Life doesn't give you opportunities equal to your wishes. It gives you opportunities equal to your preparation. That's why every goal you set should be measured not just by what you get, but by what you become. If you set a goal and you fall short, but you became stronger, wiser, and more disciplined along the way, you've still won. Because you carry that growth into the next goal. And over time, the person you become will create a life far bigger than the one you first imagined. So don't just set goals to add things to your life. Set them to build character, to sharpen your skills, to deepen your wisdom, to expand your courage. Because in the end, it's not the things you achieve that will matter most. It's the person you became in the process.